Hey guys, INFP Help back again with a new video. I am also sorry for not uploading in a long while. Making these videos have been so difficult, having to set up a camera and having to put all the equipment together and then all the editing afterwards. And obviously me as a hard-working teenager who has so many priorities, it's a bit difficult to be able to get this all together and to gather new ideas. But I thought a lot about new video ideas, and I thought, hey, there's actually lots of different INFPs in the world, and there's different types. And throughout these videos, I also want to communicate a point of not using these entirely as stereotypes. Because a lot of my videos, I say that INFPs are this, INFPs are that, we're this and we're that. But for some INFPs, that is not at all true. And in this video, I want to crack this down by asking you, which INFP are you? So, I can't bring up like a population number of all the INFPs in the world for a statistic. There's not even no statistics in this video. This is all going to be based off my personal experience, and hopefully my experience with these other INFPs could resonate with who you are as an INFP and help you learn which certain traits of an INFP you may have and which ones you may not. Because, truth be told, not all INFPs are the same. We are weird contradictory. We are weird contradictory. I don't know, whatever it is, we are walking contradictions, okay? INFPs are always free flow and we're just ourselves. So there's number one, the extrovert INFP. How weird is that, right? A lot of ENFPs are, they can be quite introverted and they wonder, what if I'm just an extroverted INFP? Maybe you are. An extroverted INFP is pretty simple, right? So, most INFPs love to keep time to themselves. They only like to hang out with a close number of close friends, and they don't usually like to, unlike ENFPs, they don't like to go group to group to group and constantly scatter themselves in groups of people. But the extrovert INFPs still don't like this. They still have the core trait of an INFP where they prefer to have their alone time, but an extroverted INFP may have a shorter social battery than a usual INFP would, and they may be better at socializing, and when they do have the social battery, they absolutely love hanging out with friends, and it's always a joy for them, and sometimes they miss their friends so often. And an extroverted INFP might have trouble understanding this part of themselves, because when they learn so much about an INFP, they think, wait, but I'm not that. I'm this, but I'm not totally that, And I've seen plenty of extroverted INFPs around. They act chaotic. They act like ENFPs, but they're not. They're INFPs. Alright, the nerd. Yes, I'm pointing at you. The nerd INFP is probably the most stereotypical one out of the list, because already INFPs are technically associated with being nerds, because pretty much nerd culture is made out of ENFPs, INFPs, and INTPs anyway. But this nerd INFPs, funny enough, don't get along in groups where normal INFPs would get along with. For example, EFP groups, a nerdy INFP particularly won't go well with ESFPs or ESFJs. They may find themselves with friends of TJs, to be precise. Maybe a few TPs, but a lot of TJs. A nerdy INFP will often get themselves fixated on different subjects, and they love to play Dungeons and Dragons with a fellow INTP friend or ENTP friend. Nerdy INFPs absolutely love INTPs and ENTPs, just because there's different types of nerdiness, and an INTP may not recognize that straight away, but I know for sure an ENTP would be like, Alright, you're coming with me. The INFP. That may be you, that may not be. Yeah, they're just an INFP. The anxious INFP. The anxious INFP kind of acts like an INFJ sometimes, because an INFJ often can be very alert and cautious in situations, because I don't know, I think they use introverted intuition. But an INFP usually lets go of their spontaneous nature a bit more, and this spontaneity is a bit further away from them than a usual INFP is. And because of that, they tend to think a lot more than an INFP would, sometimes getting them confused with an INTP or an INFJ. This version of INFPs kind of overuse their intuition, and sometimes that affects the FI, which in turn, you know, they ruminate on things, they overthink things, and they're just so stuck in trying to figure out the right direction, trying to find the right path. Even when things are so blurred to them, they're so like, I need to find this right now or I'm going to die. Anxious INFPs have these ridiculous assumptions of what would happen if this decision doesn't get made, and they have this distorted view of consequences, and they're worthy of making those decisions as well. I think anxious INFPs is probably the second most common one of this list. The healthy INFP, haha, get it? Because I put healthy and INFP in the same sentence. The healthy INFP is a very funny type because some would call this contradictory, but well, I think I said it there. I don't know. Whatever. A healthy INFP can be strange to other INFPs because they see so much of themselves in this kind of INFP, but yet it's like they still feel misunderstood by healthy INFPs, which is not at all the case, especially due to the fact that as an INFP, in order to be the healthiest you can be, you must experience. You must experience all of your emotions. You must experience the true depths of what it means to be an INFP and the true depths of how we really process the world and what we can do to balance our idea of the world and to balance the kind of things that we do, and to make sure that we're not taken away from the world so much, but we are functioning and we are healthy and we're doing things for ourselves, not so much for other people, and taking care of your emotions instead of self-validating 24/7. This healthy INFP person may seem very confusing to other types, also due to the fact that they have these different traits that don't really align perfectly with an INFP. A healthy INFP may have a very developed intuition, ended up making them look like an ENFP, and they may sometimes get out of their comfort zone in social settings, making them act more like extroverts. And they may be looking more towards using logic than feeling sometimes in different decision-making times. They strive more for a balance, and they are more organized, and they have this perfect balance. And healthy INFP are one of the nicest INFPs you'll ever meet, and are probably the ones most likely to make a change as well. The gamer INFP. I mean, this is like, it's kind of similar to the nerdy INFP, I guess. This one's probably like third common, because I think 80% of INFPs I've met were, pretty big gamers. INFPs love getting their minds in different places and obviously imagining things, and most importantly, immersing ourselves in different things. And what video games does to us is it just provides a space where our introverted functions are more comforted, because it's immersing in this sort of different world outside of the world, and sometimes it pulls us in so much that we feel really connected to the story of a video game, or simply for the fact that we just love putting our alone time to things that does distract us from the world at all. And extroverted INFPs that are also gamers may also love gaming with their friends all the time, because it's not as pressuring as being in front of someone and having to deal with social cues, and for some INFPs, like especially anxious INFPs, social anxiety. And it provides this useful tool, especially for introverted intuitive types, to sort of express themselves in a world that doesn't seem so judgmental otherwise. Let me rephrase that. In a world that doesn't seem so judgmental, the musician INFPs. Musician INFPs is probably the most represented part of INFP as a whole. Like for example, Kurt Cobain. I'm a huge fan of Silverchair, so in this case would be like Daniel Johns or David Bowie. Just lots of famous musicians just happen to be INFPs. But if you're a musician and you're an INFP, you're a good musician. I don't care how good or bad you write your instrument. I don't care if your lyrics are cheesy and just too straightforward and direct. And I don't care if it sounds like an emo song. INFPs and music is strangely very interconnected. Even if you're a musician or not, if you're an INFP listening to music, I think a lot of INFPs connect to music a lot differently than some other types. It's probably more comparable to say an ISFP or maybe an ENFP, but I'd say an ISFP and INFP have this very similar deep FI sort of analysis of music. And if you're a musician INFP, you love analyzing different lyrics if you're FI, and because of that, you also tend to relate to these songs on a very deep personal level, and you tend to want to listen to this one song all the time because it's just so you. But musician INFPs, most importantly, are very self-expressive, and because obviously INFPs like to take some time to process their emotions, music provides such a useful tool for them, and it's what makes musician INFPs very special because they have this sort of craft in front of them, and it tells the whole world what an INFP's world can be in a world that doesn't acknowledge INFPs at all. And because of that, INFPs have never been represented as much as they have been now. And because of that, I have to give the musician INFPs a praise. Well done. The artist INFP. First of all, you're not an ISFP, that's for sure. I feel like every INFP would have got into art at some point in their lives. I think if you had to rank like the most common sort of hobbies for an INFP, I would probably put art first and then music probably second or third. Art is probably the easiest sort of imaginative craft for an INFP to get to, especially when they're growing up. Because obviously when you're growing up, your mum doesn't buy you a guitar and says you learn this at the age of 3. You're not doing that. You're writing with crayons, you're creating these pictures in your head, you're imagining these cool characters and the different personalities, and you're imagining this sort of fantasy world in your head. You put it down on a piece of paper. And I notice a lot of INFPs love the frick out of color. When they draw something, they often think about the colors, and sometimes they might choose whether or not to project their optimistic energy and using bright colors, or sort of give off a sort of melancholy vibe with it. INFP artists are very interesting. I always find INFP art to be very strong and sort of, it always has a meaning behind it. I find that ISFP talks a lot about emotions and feelings, and I feel like an INFP sometimes has like a sort of an analogy with the kind of art that is created, whether it's about the world, the state of the world, or kind of the emotional state of themselves. I love artists INFPs. The caffeine addicts. I was a caffeine addict myself. INFPs love Monster Energy. I don't know what's up with Monster Energy and INFPs, or just any energy drink. INFPs love caffeine and energy drinks. I think INFPs are sort of addicted to the feeling like they are connected with the world. INFPs stereotypically are crazy caffeine consumers. If it's not for the caffeine itself, they just love the taste of energy drinks. I want to do this important announcement. Thank you guys for 1,000 subscribers. I love you all. I love every INFP in this world. And I hope you guys have a brilliant day. Take care of yourselves. If you enjoyed this content, leave a like. Comment any ideas, please. I'm running out of ideas. I've only started this channel quite recently, and it's just my inspiration is not here right now. So I'd appreciate if you guys give me some ideas and give me some feedback. What kinds of videos do you want? I'm thinking about doing a skit maybe in the future. Something that's a bit Frank James inspired. I love Frank James. He's a brilliant YouTuber. Anyway, I hope you guys have an awesome day. Happy INFPing. Have a wonderful INFP day.